Is it your position that we don't really know what would be a good value structure? If you're okay with it, I'll have you sit right here next to me.
That'll do.
I'm writing this in my notes. I'm not sure if I should.
Awesome. Okay. What's your first name?
Alex.
Alex?
Alex. What's yours?
Matt.
Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
A-L-E-X?
ALEX.
All right. So, you said you're familiar with Street, but you've seen some videos or something?
I've seen a few. I think.
You think so?
It's been a while.
Okay.
So I can't claim to remember too many details, but
Okay.
it rings a bell.
So the idea is to have a conversation about something that you believe, or
Yeah.
something that you think is true, or maybe something you think that should be true. And then it's my job to ask you questions to explore the quality of the reasoning that you're using to support the belief.
See, I was going to go on my dirt rant, but that might be too materialist.
It helps if it's something that's really important to you, like something if you found out wasn't true tomorrow, it might actually change how you behave.
Can I try to prove a negative?
We could.
We
It
could.
works a little better if you can phrase the claim in a positive way.
This is where I'm at, though, is I don't know what I believe strongly.
Okay.
But part of that, you're familiar with Nietzsche,
Yeah.
is this idea of God is dead.
Yeah.
And we don't have a value set.
Mm-hmm. But he said something like we need to create our own, kind of.
Yeah. And I haven't found a good one. But I think we need it. I think we need some structure.
We need structure. People need structure?
They need a system for valuing, right?
People need a system for valuing.
In order to function appropriately,
In order to function appropriately. That's interesting. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah? People need a value structure to, what did you say, behave appropriately? No, that's not what you said.
I mean, I don't remember my exact words, but that's a sufficient
Okay.
wording.
Behave appropriately. What do you mean by appropriately?
Well, I think we can probably agree. People can do better or worse,
People can
right?
do better or worse.
Subjectively, right? They can be more or less fulfilled, more or less happy, more or less healthy, right?
Mhm.
I think you need some structure that sort of dictates for you, almost in an a priori sense, what it is you should be going after, what it is you should be valuing.
Okay. And you think without that, you can't behave appropriately?
Well, to some extent you could, but it would be sort of arbitrary in some sense, and you wouldn't have sort of consistency in your behavior, right? I mean, Nietzsche's... Right, because this question does get brought up a lot in, like, religious circles, this idea of, like, can you behave morally without believing in God?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the answer is obviously yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all known atheists, I think, who are
Right.
perfectly upright,
Right.
wonderful people,
Mhm.
right? But the question is, can you sort of logically justify a moral system
Mhm.
without a religious substructure, or at least something pseudo-religious in the
Mhm.
substructure? And I don't know if you can.
Do you think we can?
I don't know.
Don't know.
We haven't found out a way to yet, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Okay. If you had to, kind of forcing you into a box a little
Yeah.
bit here, but if you had to, how confident would you say you are that this is true?
99.
99. And what is the biggest reason that gets you to this 99?
I don't know if there's a single reason. I mean, it's just sort of a, observation of behavior and reading enough about humans and how they act.
So you observe human behavior, and it sounds like you've read a lot about human behavior.
Yeah. I don't know about a lot, but sure.
Okay.
I never feel like I've read enough.
Right. Okay. So, observing human behavior is maybe one of the reasons that gets you to this 99?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds like maybe you have more reasons to...
I think it was C.S. Lewis that said if I had to remember why I believe everything I believe, I'd have to remember twice as much.
That's a good quote. Okay. Is it possible for a person to observe human behavior and use that to come to a conclusion that's false about reality?
Oh, sure.
Okay. How do you know that you're not that person?
Oh, I don't.
Okay. But you seem really confident.
Well, I'm confident, but that's only within the sort of bounds of my own ability to be confident about anything.
Okay.
Right?
When should we be confident about things?
When we think we have sufficient reasons and evidence to be confident, but I think that always has to be undercut with the humility that you don't know what's going on.
Right. It's important to be humble when we're trying to figure out what's what.
Yeah. Trying to remember. You know the elephant poem?
Elephant poem.
I don't remember who wrote it.
Poem about an
But
elephant?
it describes 3 blind men. They have no idea what an elephant is, right? They're all from England, let's say.
Okay.
I don't remember. They're blind and they're feeling an elephant. One of them is feeling the leg and he says, oh, an elephant is a creature like a tree. And one of them's feeling the side of the elephant. He says, no, an elephant is a creature like a wall, a big leathery wall. And one of them's feeling the tusk and he says, no, it's like a wooden stick, right? And it's this idea that our perceptions are always bounded by our physical limitations and also just our conditioning.
Right.
And so to think that your experience is a good understanding of the whole is always at least a little faulty.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's all you have to go on,
But we should use we would do well to incorporate other perspectives when we're trying to discover the truth. Is that kind of what the poem is about?
Yeah. Incorporate, but I mean, even then, if you just say, oh, it's a wall that has a tree next to it with a stick coming out, you'd still be incorrect.
Right. Not anywhere closer. Okay. So it's important to remain humble. It's important to incorporate other perspectives. You mentioned earlier having good reasons and evidence. What sort of things do you put in that bucket? Of like good reasons and evidence to believe something.
Well, I mean, reasons, you mean deductive logic.
Logic.
And just having enough faith that the people who understand math laid that out.
Know what they're doing.
I can't follow it well enough to know, but, and I mean, evidence, like, all we really have is our experience,
That's all we have?
Do we have more?
I don't know. Do other people's experiences count?
Yeah, but at the same time, how are you to learn of other people's experiences but through your own?
Right. Or like...
right, I can tell you my experience, that's just you experiencing me talking.
Right.
So that's still in the set, I think.
In the set of experience.
Yeah.
Is there anything Is there anything outside of experience that we use to discover true things?
Well, historically, it's been religion,
Religion.
right? Which, in a sense, is this sort of, functionally, it's a way to posit things without needing that backbone, right? To bring it back to the morality question, right? I mean, the very basic thing, like, it's wrong to kill. Human life has value, right? There's no real way to deductively logic your way there. So in some sense, you kind of need an a priori structure to just say, no, that is what it is, and you're going to deal with it.
Got it. So it sounds like, okay. Is there, if human life did have value, how could we figure that out?
Well, to some extent, I don't know if it does or doesn't. It's sort of a judgment we have to make.
An arbitrary?
I wouldn't say arbitrary, but, I don't know if it's inherently there, right? Because value is something which is derived from a person, fundamentally.
Valuing comes from people?
I think so.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. Yeah. Does value come from anywhere else other than people?
Well, so you could say it comes from God,
Right.
if you're so inclined.
If you believe in a God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. If humans did have value, it would only be through. We would only know that through the mouths of other humans. Or if you believe in a God.
Yeah, we go with that.
Okay. Is that what you were saying?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. It's sort of my job in the interview to accurately reflect what you're telling me. Okay.
And I'm not fully caffeinated yet, so
Right on.
some clarification will be needed.
What would you need to learn or find out about that would lower your confidence down from 99?
If I could see a means of, well, I guess, this claim. Frankly, this particular claim, I don't know if it's going to get lowered. I'd have to see evidence that suggests that people don't need valuing structures, but
What would that look like?
I don't even know. You'd have to, indicate that people can be fulfilled and happy in the absence of any kind of overarching goal structure or value structure.
Are you aware of anybody that's like that?
No.
Interesting. Is there anything that you could learn that would bring you to 100?
I think that 1% just sticks around as the,
No matter what, kind of a buffer?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If this wasn't true, would you want to know it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
What am I here to do if not just to figure stuff out?
What's the purpose?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if I found that answer, but my temporary placeholder is to just figure as much out as I can.
Okay. I think that's a really good answer. I think that's all the questions I had for you. Do you have any questions for me?
Do you feel so? Are you familiar with his kind of death of God idea?
Maybe. I've never actually. No, I did read something by Nietzsche.
So I'll preface this by saying, you ask 10 different scholars to translate Nietzsche, they'll give you 15 different answers.
Yeah.
So this is my
Interpretation.
yeah.
Okay.
But basically, the point is that historically, religion has served as a means of giving people these value structures. But with the scientific revolution and the Enlightenment and so on and so forth, the sort of immediate need for religiosity starts to fall away, right? And I mean, you see this just statistically, right? Church going is going down, atheism is going up. And his point is that without religion to supply that kind of a priori structure, you need to have some structure.
You need to have something.
And where is it going to come from? Right? The full quote, he says, God is dead, we have killed him. Must we ourselves not become God simply to appear worthy of it? And, it goes on from there.
Right.
But the sort of underlying question is, are we even ready to deal with that? Right? Do we have a means of constructing value sets without this kind of supernatural
Undergirding.
Yeah.
Is that where his idea of the Ubermensch comes from?
In part, yeah. The Ubermensch is this idea of a man who has the capacity to found and maintain his own values.
How does that vibe with you?
It's a great idea. I don't know if anybody's pulled it off.
Yeah. Yeah, how would we know if somebody had?
Or at least those who maybe attempted to pull it off didn't do very good things with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could maybe make the argument that someone like Stalin was an Ubermensch in the sense that he didn't really have a religious structure, but he also killed millions of people. So it's, I don't know if the value structure he found was worth very much.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we know if a value structure is good? Is it like what comes out of it?
In effect, yeah, but I mean, even there you're sort of running into a conundrum because, you're like, well, killing people's bad, but then it's like, well, why? Right? We value human flourishing, right, and health and well-being. But the only real underlying justification for that is just, I want it.
Right.
It seems nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that kind of where your confidence is right now in like what a value structure should be? Is that we don't really know?
Can you rephrase?
Is it your position that we don't really know what would be a good value structure?
I mean, I think to the extent that we're willing to just accept that, like, human happiness and people finding meaning is good without justifying it at a root level, you can certainly compare value structures. But, the sort of fundamental issue is just finding something that has enough stickiness to actually pull people in and guide them.
Yeah, is that the important bit? Is getting people on board?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that's interesting. What do you think is the best way to come to truth?
What is truth?
How do you define truth?
I don't know if I have a definition. I mean, this is something else in Nietzsche's work that he talks about a lot, is this idea of perspectivism.
I don't think I'm familiar with that term.
Which is his point that there is no real truth, there are only perspectives.
Is he talking about, like, facts about reality, or?
Yes, and yes.
Okay. So, like, Is he saying that truth is subjective?
In effect, yes.
Okay. Because it differs based on perspective.
I mean, subjective's kind of a squishy word here, but his point, in some sense, is that, yeah, without someone to look at it, at least, there wouldn't really be a truth.
Things aren't true unless somebody's around to observe.
Yeah, and even then, the truth is sort of only true within their, experience or perspective. Right? I mean, that is a tree. It's in the ground. If you and I weren't here, the whole concept of tree and in and ground wouldn't be there. We can pretty confidently say there's a tree there and it's in the ground, and that's probably true, but that truth is sort of contained within our perspective, right? Our concepts.
Right. Regardless of like what we call the thing, if there were no humans around, would that still be a tree in the ground?
I don't know of any other species that calls it a tree.
Right.
It calls it the ground.
Would it?
It might still be a thing and a thing.
A thing and a thing. That's what I was
But-
gonna say. But there wouldn't be any labels on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you? Is it? Do you share that perspective with Nietzsche?
I think so. I mean, I have yet to find anything that convinces me that there is a truth that is continuous outside of an observation point.
Do you think that we share the same reality?
But you and me,
Yeah.
there's overlap.
Overlap?
I think there's significant overlap.
What's not under that overlap?
Well, I have a poster in my bedroom. That's not part of your reality. That's in mine. Right? We have different experience sets.
Right. But it would still exist in my reality, your poster.
Only now that you know about it.
Right.
I've let the secret slip.
Well, even if I didn't know about it, it would still be there. Right?
Would it? In your reality?
Yeah, even if I had never been to your house.
I mean,
Or in your
it
bedroom.
exists in some sort of hypothetical, objective sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not part of what you understand the world to be, then is it part of your experience? Is it part of your reality?
Is reality only experience?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
That's the big question. I don't know. I mean, there's probably something going on, right?
Yeah.
I'm not willing to accept the solipsist viewpoint that I'm just,
Brain in a vat.
brain hallucinating all of this. I think there's something going on, but what that something is, I think, is very heavily filtered through our cognitive processes, right?
Biases.
But you and I share enough, I think, neurology in common that it's usually a safe assumption that when I go, look, you see a tree in the ground.
Right. Yeah, our brains are similarly made.
Yeah, and we've been conditioned in much the same way.
Right. Yeah. I suspect probably quite a bit based off of your familiarity with Nietzsche. Even though I've never read him, I'm familiar with those ideas that you've expressed.
I like the
Huh. I really appreciate you sitting down. This is great. I get quite a dopamine hit off of interviewing most people, but most people don't come to me with this claim. Most people want to talk about Christianity or karma or
Yeah.
ghosts or horoscopes or something.
We could switch to ghosts.
Yeah. Do you think the ghosts are real?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've thought about starting a cult. I think that would be a fun endeavor. But if I did start a cult, I've found the name. I don't know if it has good enough search engine optimization, but I think I'm going to call it SGO.
SGO?
SGO. Which is an acronym. It's a very secret acronym. Can I?
Please.
You're not going to share?
I won't.
This isn't going to be posted all over the internet?
We can edit out this point on from the
All right,
interview.
you're going to bleep when I say what it stands for.
I will. Yeah. You can check my channel.
Stands for...
Is that like in a metaphysical sense, or?
Well, ghosts, right?
Yeah.
Something's going on.
Something's going on?
Something's happening.
Why do you think that?
Is it actually a spooky person coming back from the grave? I don't know, but enough people across enough cultures have experienced something.
Something like that.
Something's going on. You know, is it part of the, subconscious projecting into reality? Is it actually some metaphysical process? Is it actually life force? Something's going on. But what is it? I don't know.
Do you have that same perspective with things like karma, or maybe like the UAP phenomenon, or
UAP for sure. Karma, I
something's
think,
going
is like, there's not really like a material representation of karma in the same sense.
like it'd be harder to pinpoint the mechanism, maybe.
Yeah, or just the sort of observational. Like, how do you observe karma? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I mean, you can sort of generally point out that people who, are nice and live good lives get that in return to some extent, but that's also true in inverse,
Yeah. Yeah. And people can be horrible and have great things happen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Right.
Plenty of innocent people bruised and sunk into a lake,
Yeah. Yeah. I have a very low confidence that karma is real, but it's not zero.
Well, I think sort of the other question is, whether it's real or not, is it valuable to live as it were?
Yeah.
Because whether or not, Ted Bundy is going to come get you, you may not be able to affect one way or another. But by living life in a way that helps people, and you're good to people and you serve others, is that or is that not going to increase your chances of having a good, fulfilled life? Maybe not to 100%. You still might get the murder clown coming out of the alleyway at 2 a.m.
Right.
But if it increases the probability, is that enough?
Yeah. Do you think it is?
Probably. I don't know what else you're going to do.
Yeah. I think I share that opinion. It's better to live as if people have value than not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that too.
What else are you going to do? Be a big meanie?
Yeah, and where does that get you? Not far.
Far.
We're social species. Our behavior impacts other people. There's no way around that. Especially in smaller settings. Yeah. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Huh.
I gotta get scooting.
Well, thanks for stopping once again.
Thanks for
This was
coming.
awesome.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate the